Welcome to Living on the Ocean. Sailing Trimaran Dawn for the first time was a fantastic experience, and she blew us away. She already touched the 18 knots. And we were sailing her carefully. We weren't using that much sail. We left on the 16th of September in 2020. Having never sailed this boat, we started very carefully with just the Genoa. You've seen in the previous episodes how we cleaned her, cleaned the mast, cleaned the boat after she'd been left behind basically for 15 years. But now she's sailing again, yes, and that's how we went into our first evening. The next morning, the wind has indeed picked up as predicted, and the waves got a bit higher, and we passing the light vessel East Goodwin, laying on the east side of the Goodwin Sands. We on the other side. Dawn, you did fantastic. You can still go fast. And when I speak this in afterwards, I don't sound so excited, but it was. We had to learn how to steer her, and she was heavy in the swell and in the waves. As Cheryl needed 2 hands to steer, and I quickly connected the autopilot to take over. And that's how we were passing Dover. Basically 24 hours after we left on that little bit of foresail. Ex-Ostar racer, Côte Basque, you still did 170 miles in 24 hours. And we were very happy with her. Having reached the other side with the weather that we knew that was coming made us feel already a lot better. As we said in the previous episode, there are 3 massive storms on the Atlantic, and something is coming our way, and we must be on this high shore so we can take shelter in a harbor if necessary. On the other side where we are now, we're gonna try to get new weather forecast, and that's how we went to the second day, heading into the Solent. But being tired, I made a mistake, and after using the engine for a moment when the winds calmed down a bit, I pressed the start button instead of the stop button, and that destroyed the solenoid from the starter engine. Now we had no engine, and all night I was hanging upside down in the engine room to fix it. I called a mechanic Arie that lives near the coast here, because first I thought that I had to go to a harbour. But together we worked out a plan and we fixed it. But another night not sleeping, I was sleeping in the morning. And Cheryl, she was keeping watch. I needed that sleep because this is day 3 and we're gonna get strong winds on the Cornish coast. Just listen to me talking about it.
You can play with the waves and you feel where the waves take you. Now clearing the headlands and going into Cornwall. A boat that easily sails double numbers. Oh, I just lost the foresail. And that's double numbers of just a little bit of foresail.
At Cornwall we pick up our last weather forecast, and the window to cross Biscay is still there. The strong winds will soon die down to very light winds for us to cross Biscay. We know we need our engine and we need our mainsail. And getting that up, climbing into the boom, really shows the perspective of the size of this boat. About 48 hours, not much wind, and then the remnants of Tropical Storm Beta will hit the north of Europe. By the end of September 2020, you can remember the big storms up there. But here in Biscay, it gives us the perfect time to get away from it, and Beta will pass north of us while we're already south. We're excited about the progress. We left Holland and the first 24 hours started at 12 o'clock the first day. We made it to Dover the next midday and then sailed underneath the Solent, and from the Solent to Cornwall, and from Cornwall now to day 4, starting Biscay tomorrow 12 o'clock. And where the winds died down a lot, the night actually is very relaxed. And the next morning we're looking into the distance to blue sky. Behind us it's still grey. And we're so happy that we just left on time, that we saw the window and took it. It's now sailing in blue water, the blue color of the ocean. And now we are in Biscay. It's actually gonna be the most quietest part of our whole trip, because later we will do great speeds and hit at 18 knots. But now, relaxed Biscay. I've seen it in storm, don't underestimate it. Just have a listen to what I had to say about it when I was there.
And here I am on Dawn. It's the end of September. We are sailing Biscay. The isomere was probably the worst bit of our trip. I had to argue with the insurance companies. This is too dangerous. You can sail the harbors. You can sail the currents of the English Channel. In between all the big ships, the cargo vessels that pass you left and right, and all the other ships. But out here alone, on a quiet Biscay, the only thing we need to do is wait for a good weather window. And things can happen, things can go wrong. My starter motor packed up, but I just took it off and fixed it. Yes, if you can't take care of your own boat, then you shouldn't be out far away. But if it comes to safety, then this is being out in the cow fields, in the mountains, all alone. Why would you not be allowed to drive a car there? But you are insured if you want to drive a car in Amsterdam and in London, in between all the other cars and in the traffic jam, because that's safe. No, so wrong. This is safe. If anything happens, I have time to fix it. I have time to find solutions. I can drift here for days, no problem, to fix something. Again, it comes down to picking a good weather window, to being a good skipper, to know what you can do and what you can do. And if you rely upon the only thing the cities will give you for a car, a company to quickly drive up to repair your boat, or a boat packed with spares for if something happens, you should learn more about how to take care of your boat. Dawn was neglected for 15 years. She was green. A lot of her things still don't work. Winches still need to be greased. She needs to be painted, but paint has nothing to do with her strength. Her structural strength is correct. Her deckerboard works again. Her sails have been stored for 15 years dry. Her mast has been cleaned in many days. But I was hanging there in safety gear to clean it, else the sails would have gone green. By the way, that's a dinghy. I designed it in 04, sold it, but we bought it back as a dinghy for Dawn. To be finished, probably again in 04. Solar panels in the distance, just hanging there to not be broken. Still need to be connected, no time. Dawn is sailing again after 15 years.
To be here in the end of September when it can be horrible in Biscay, absolutely. But in those conditions it's not luck, it's picking a good weather window. Going by the English coast, checking the weather again. We followed the weather for 10 days. And it looked like it was stable all the time. They were pointing towards the same thing. There's a period, but very soon after us, the door will be absolutely closed. Sailboat, heading north, definitely going the wrong direction if you ask me. This is where you want to go. South, south. Even the birds know that. They fly south. Well, flying. Not all of them. Some of them are just smarter. They just take a ride. No, actually that's not true. This poor bird probably blew away in a storm. And in the middle of Biscay, where can he land? And he just sought some refuge on a boat. And we gave him the best treatment we possibly could. As far as I know, it's happened on every trip I made, from pigeons, cormorants, all kind of birds, swallows. Sadly, they often don't make it. Having crossed Biscay now in this calm weather, we got very comfortable with the boat, and Cheryl definitely found a favorite spot. We absolutely enjoyed this trip over Biscay. Knowing that you sail towards the warm south is so nice. And the autopilot is doing a great job, while we just sitting out here, enjoying it, and looking how the bottom of this boat goes to this beautiful, clear water. You can see the deckerboard that's now partly down because we're going a bit upwind. And I'm just sitting on the boat, enjoying, relaxing, but also observing everything, checking out everything. And she's doing so much better than I expected. It's amazing how she came to her 15 years just laying there. I need to inspect it because I know from the weather forecast that there's another wind coming. There's still quite strong headwinds coming tomorrow. But this day was absolutely fantastic, and it ended with a brilliant sunset. Well, the next morning, the wind has turned to a nose, the weather stations were right again. Well, Trimaran Dawn, you were once built to beat up an Atlantic storm if necessary. And she proved us she can still do it. She could told us, I think she enjoyed splashing her floats to those waves, just diving into the next waves with a bow. Her build-out extension to become a cruiser is just throwing all the water away sideways. And with her even wanting to go over 10 knots, but we slowed her down, we are reaching the coast of Portugal much faster than we expected. So on the evening of the 7th day, when the sun is literally setting, we are entering Nazaré. Famous place on the west coast of Portugal with its massive high waves, where the record surfing is being done sometimes of waves higher than 30 meters. The first thing we do when we come into the port is getting a weather forecast. And that shows the weather was absolutely right. Storm Beta has arrived at Northern Europe and is closing the way out of the English Channel completely with a strong westerly wind. The white dots show where we were every day. Obviously we didn't sail through this weather. It was good when we were there, but 2 days later it would have been a bad time to be there. Now we are in Nazaré. We're in Portugal. And from Nazaré we need to go south past Lisbon to Cabo San Vicente and towards Alvor. After a nice lunch on the shore with some people that we knew, we're leaving the next day at 12 o'clock, sailing south with the winds that are still there, good and in our favor. They will become stronger, and so will the swell from the big storm. The Atlantic west coast of Portugal is famous for it. And it's also famous for something else. Floating flags that welcome you back to Portugal. Actually, they're markers from fishermen. And obviously they need to do their work, but they're quite dangerous in the night when they can come into your propeller. Our last sunset before we're gonna arrive in the Algarve. Tomorrow we will go underneath Cabo San Vicente. I'm just enjoying it out here. This is the last sunset of this fantastic trip. I'm actually very proud to be sailing this fantastic trimaran. Well, and as the sun has come up already, the swell is starting to pick up and so is the wind. It's perfectly from behind, but it isn't always easy to steer her and definitely not easy to set her nice sails. They have great foresails for her, but that's not yet what we want to try. We're almost where we want to be, and we dare to do more with her than we did in the beginning. And definitely, that was gonna be exciting. The swell is building bigger behind us, and we are surfing down waves with over 30 knots. We see 14, we see 15, and very soon we even saw 18. On our port side we already see in the distance the black line, Cabo San Vicente, the corner. When we come underneath that, we're out of the swell, but not out of the wind, and that's many times a very exciting place to sail.
Cutting the corner of Cabo San Vicente, back in the Algarve. UK knots. Quite happy with Dawn, only her steering is absolutely worthless. She needs a good check on her rudder and her underwater ship. When it gets fixed, she is still a racing machine.
With 10 knots speed we come into the Algarve, sailing fantastically the south coast of Portugal, and before we know it we are Ponta de Bidada, the last little cape before we can turn towards port, towards the entrance of Alvor. This rock formation here from Ponta de Bidada is fantastic with its caves, and lots of tourists come to visit it every year. Hey, we are in Ponta de Bidada in Lagos. And in front of us is Alvor. Have a look. And there's the entrance of Alvor. Some of the entrances at many harbors in the world, you have to watch the current, and also here can be quite a strong current and quite a swell at the entrance. But at this moment it's all okay. And yes, we are in Alvor, the kitesurf spot of the world with its sandbanks and the constant winds in the summer. One of the best. While being greeted by those, we just round the sandbank and we finally dock up on the waiting pontoon in Alvor. We did it 9 days later after our departure with a stop in Nazaré. We are in Alvor, a spot I absolutely love. And there in the distance, if you know where to look, there is Twilight. Twilight and Dawn back together. No, not back, for the first time together. Thank you for watching Living on the Ocean. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will subscribe to the channel.